Hello, my name is Miguel Perez. I'm the director of Oleanna by David Mamet at the Hollywood Fringe Festival in June. It's a heck of a show. And if you want to know more about it, stick around. You're going to hear a lot. I first got involved in theater when I was a young boy. There was a production of A Christmas Carol on, and in the sixth grade, I don't know why I was drawn to try out for a part, and I got the lead. And quite frankly, I as soon as I got all the positive attention and feedback from the experience, from doing that, from playing Ebenezer Scrooge and putting gray in my hair and whatnot, I was hooked. I just had to go back for more. Up until that time, as a child, while I was loved by my family, my parents, and everything, that kind of adulation from folks I didn't even know, just it was like a drug. I had to have more, and that's what began the process. And now, half a century later, it's not so much for the adulation, but for the beauty of completing a project in the way one wants to do it. Directing is something that's always been a part of my career, although it didn't become an obsession until only very recently. I began teaching not too long ago as a way of giving back to the profession. And it's just a natural outgrowth of that experience of trying to impart something, trying to place an idea in someone's mind without actually saying, here, do this. And I guess the obsession is in trying to find a way to communicate with actors that is deeper than just, stand up and turn to the right. It's a way of trying to, I guess I'm obsessed with the process of trying to instill ideas in folks indirectly, creating circumstances. And that only just came to be. Truth is, all these years, I've only ever wanted to be an actor. But the challenge of directing, the challenge of becoming the director that I always wanted, has only been in the last few years. And it's a challenge that I welcome and that I can't stop going towards. The process, it's a little unusual. I'll spend anywhere from a third to a half of the rehearsal period just sitting around a table with the actors, going through the script line by line, moment by moment, making the entire creative team experts on the script. By the time we actually start to get on our feet, everyone knows every moment and everyone has an opinion on every moment. And what I've done is I've tried to engage the cast on my opinion and sort of win them over to my side. I don't always succeed. Sometimes the actors will have better ideas about a moment than mine. And of course, I'll say, hey, that's great. What you're thinking is much better than what I had in mind. And I say, go for it. I'll take credit for it, but you can have it. But at least half of the process is spent at the table working on the script. And what's interesting is that once it's time to get on our feet, the cast is ready to get on their feet, and they already have natural ideas about how to move, when to move, where to move, what behaviors to do. And that just comes right out of the work on the text. And staging the play becomes just an organic process. It's just, okay, now we're doing this, now we're doing that. So then once that's done, it's just finding the way through the play, forging a path through the play. And my touch becomes less and less as the actors take more and more ownership. And by opening night, it's their job, and all I have to do is sit back and watch. What makes the theater experience unique and, for my money, eternal, is that it's the experience of an idea being transmitted from the minds of the players, the creative team, everybody, being transmitted into the minds of the audience. It's like telepathy. We have an idea that we want to confer by telling a story. And if we do our jobs properly, what we're thinking goes into the minds of the audience, and then they're thinking it too. And that's magic. And yes, you can get that from other media. You can get that from a film. You can get that, from a dance piece. But what makes theater so interesting and addictive is that it's happening in the moment. There's human beings sharing ideas. And that goes all the way back to prehistoric tribes dancing and telling stories with limited language about where to find the water buffalo that they need to bring down in order to feed everyone. That's ancient. And I'm just happy that we're still doing that today, and we probably will continue. Hollywood Fringe Festival, that first came on my radar back in, oh gosh, was it 2013, maybe 2014? A friend of a friend was mounting a production of Antigone. And my friend said, my friend is doing Antigone and she needs someone to play Creon. So being the senior actor, the old guy who has some gray in his beard, I think I was a natural for the role. But I met the woman, and she said, "Oh gosh, yes, come and play Creon with us." And so it was wonderful. It was really ragtag. We were rehearsing in apartments. We were rehearsing wherever we could. There was no Zoom at that time, so we couldn't avail ourselves of online. But we were just sort of putting it together, slapdash, however we could. I bought my own design and provided my own costume. And then we show up and we have 15 minutes to prepare and the show goes on and whatever happens, happens. And there was something so bold about that. It was like guerrilla theater. And that's how it is throughout the Fringe. And I think that's what makes the Fringe Festival so exciting, is that, it's just two planks and a passion. What have you got? Have you got a telephone to put on a table? Have you got something that looks like a book? Okay, let's do the play. And that's theater at its best. I've always believed in storytelling over stagecraft. And at the Fringe Festival, you have to rely on storytelling because there's no time or space or budget for stagecraft. So, that to me is what theater was always meant to be anyway. As soon as you start getting a bunch of lasers and, amazing effects and whatnot involved, then it's less of a theater piece and more of a multimedia event. And yes, we need multimedia events. Yes, we need big pieces. The Phantom of the Opera just closed on Broadway. I mean, that chandelier coming down, that's epic. But at the Fringe Festival, you're not going to get huge chandeliers, but you're going to get people telling stories with their hearts, and with sweat running down their faces. And that's my kind of theater. That's an interesting story. I saw the play when it was first produced. I was at Harvard University. I was an artist in residence there, and David Mamet was directing his new play, Oleanna. This was like the early 90s. And so, I went down to catch it, and it was infuriating. Me Too hadn't happened yet. A lot of things hadn't happened yet. I think that the world was different at that time. So I was infuriated by the idea of this professor being brought down by a kind of a revolutionary new view of the world, and Mamet directed it very much in favor of the plight of the professor, and I bought into it. It was interesting. It caught my interest. Plus I loved the language of it, and so I went and saw it a couple of times with Bill Macy, and I think it was Rebecca Pidgeon in the show, and I was intrigued. Then a few years later, I was asked to play the role of the professor, John, opposite the wonderful young actress named Ariel Zevon, the daughter of the great rock star Warren Zevon. And we did it at Third Street Theater and got a lot of good notices. And I was still interested in the idea of this professor going along with his life and somehow being pulled down. And that, because I was playing the role, of course, I was very much in favor of the professor. But I began to hear, I mean, Ariel is a wonderful, wonderful actress. And I began to see that character's side of it, because Ariel, so sensitive, so powerful in her interpretation, really started to sway me and started to make me question the position and the privileges that this professor enjoyed, just conferred upon him because of who he was and his gender and his upbringing. But by the time we closed that, I was sort of done with the piece. I wanted nothing to do with it anymore. It was done. I thought I'd gotten everything I could out of it. Then I started teaching. Many years later, I started teaching. My students started bringing the play, scenes from the play, to me to work on in studio. And by that time, Me Too had happened. By that time, perspectives had changed. By that time, I had been educated more about the ideas of gender, what's the word I'm looking for? The disparities in privilege between genders, the patriarchy, Me Too. And as my students were playing the piece for me and, with me, I began hearing lines that I should have known, but felt that I hadn't heard before. And I realized that 30 years down the line, the play had remained the same, but my perspective had changed. And two students of mine were having a tremendous amount of success in the way that they were going through the play, the way they were reading it, the way they were seeing it. And I said, well, let's do this. Let's take it all the way. And I should say former students, because the student-teacher relationship had pretty much come to its end, and so we became colleagues. And I said, okay, let's mount this. Let's do it. Fringe Festival's coming up. The timing was just right. That decision came just at the right time to start putting together a creative team, and we just did it. It just happened. Fundraising went smoothly. And now we're in the throes. We're at the point now. We're on our feet. We're in the theater space. We're putting the finish on it, and we have a new perspective, a perspective that wasn't there before. Basically, it's this. Back in the 90s, the dramatic question for this play was, what happens if two sides of an argument are wrong? And now today, after so much time and so much upheaval in society, the real dramatic question of this play is, what happens if two sides of an argument are right? And that's a much more explosive question, and it makes for a lot of conflict and a lot of fireworks in this play. with this particular, well, with all of David Mamet's work, his work is language driven. He has a way of capturing the nature of talk. And the initial challenge with Mamet is learning the rhythm, learning how to trust him. And once you do, once you trust, once you buy into his rhythms, you find that everything comes after that: character, behavior. But ultimately, Mamet, and I think this is a fair comparison. Mamet, like Shakespeare, like Pinter, like Beckett, well, to a lesser degree, but like, and for that matter, Lillian Hellman, these are all playwrights who instill the story with tremendous and incisive language. What's interesting, though, about language is that while the words remain the same, while the structures and the syntax remains the same, we, in our use of language as a society, as a people, as a species, we change. And the words that we use change. So that when we go back to a piece like Oleanna, or a piece like The Little Foxes, or a piece like The Birthday Party by Pinter, if we cleave to the language, what happens is that the play unfolds, but the way we perceive it changes because of the way that we use language changes. And that's why we have to be really careful when we start to judge our playwrights and our novelists by the language they use. I mean, can we really go back and clean up Roald Dahl in order to fit our sensibilities for today? Or should we just leave his work as it is and let it provoke us in a new way? The same thing with Mark Twain. Do we clean up? Do we take the N-word out of Mark Twain's work so that we're not offended? No, I think that the fact that it's even more offensive now is important and informs the way we see the work. Mamet uses some very strong language throughout his canon, and very offensive language throughout his canon. Same thing with Eugene O'Neill. Do we clean that up? Do we get it so that we don't feel that it doesn't make us feel bad? No, we want to feel bad. It was that language was put there for a purpose. I once had the great pleasure of working with Harold Pinter, and I was there at rehearsal when one of the other actors, the great character actor Richard Really, began to say the F word, and he was using a British accent. It was a kind of a Northern English accent, so it has a different sort of a thing to it. And in the F word, of course, has this sound to it. And Richard Really, he being true to his accent, he put kind of an So can I say the F word in this in this podcast? No. So it's so he was saying ugh, and Pinter stopped him and said, no, Richard, that word is the ugliest word in English. It has to be pronounced in an ugly way with the sound, the and that opened such a door to me, because I thought, my God, he chose that word not only for what the word means, but for how the word sounds, how the word lands on human ears and in human minds. So, yes, That's the brilliance of a great playwright, because a word is not just a symbol for an idea. The word, it's a holistic expression of that idea. And if you try to soften the word, you soften the idea. And that's, I mean, what is that but censorship? Lucky me, all of my first choices for this creative team were available at the moment that I needed them, which is very rare. I needed someone to help hold my hand through the producing process, because I've never produced a play before. I've directed a few times, and I've played in many plays, but I've never like really taken on the producing duties. And so my old friend Darcy Lee, the classiest, most marvelous producer, we were talking on the phone. I mentioned I want to do this. She says, well, you need some help. I said, yes. Darcy and I go back to when we were both acting in Cyrano de Bergerac at a brave little theater in Pasadena called, it was called the Knightsbridge Theater. I played Cyrano, she played Roxanne, and the play kept getting extended and extended and extended, because it's just a wonderful story. And every night I was saying all these beautiful, loving, adoring things to Darcy, and I fell madly in love with her. But it was, this platonic adoration that continues to this day. But she's been just my rock in terms of the production side. My old friend Anita Lee, Cooker and Lee publicists, they arranged this moment here. And once again, that's a relationship that goes back to, God, the 1980s in Jersey City, when Anita and her then husband and me and my then wife were neighbors, and our children were born about the same time, and we took turns babysitting. My cast, this cast, oh my gosh, Claire Wagner, who had been a student of mine at the Art of Acting Conservatory, so mature and so clever for for an actor still at the early parts of her journey. But she's so, I don't even know how to explain it. She's like this prodigy. She's able to come up with ideas that someone of her years shouldn't be having. She's very, even though she's in her 20s, she's 150 years old. It's just a wonderful player to work with. And then Jean-Michel Richaud, who came to me through my association with wonderful voiceover director and theater director too, Sergine Dumais from Montreal. Jean-Michel he's an actor manager in his own right. He tours Leonard Nimoy's play all over the country, and we were doing a workshop together with Claire, and he had just enough time in his schedule open to do this play. So here we go, And then so many of my former students have stepped up and said, "No, can we help with this? Can we help with that?" I have several of them, Ahash Francis and Anya and Lola Darzans from Paris. They just, when I say, how can we help out? They've been consulting and helping out with script, with holding the script, prompting, helping me move furniture. It's a team that came together in the most natural of ways. It's a team of people who all see the world in a similar way, and who all, lucky me, trust the way that I see this story, and want to help me to bring that to fruition, and at the same time bring their wonderful and unique visions to the story as well. And all of that has just served to make the whole so much greater than the sum of the parts. I thought a lot about about what I want to leave the audience with when they're finished seeing the way we tell this story and hearing the way they tell this story. And my hope is that when that final shocking moment is complete, my hope is that the audience will be left feeling upset and feeling an emotional and societal void that they need to help to fill. My hope is that they'll leave feeling disturbed and anxious to do something about the way we conduct ourselves in our society. To tell you the truth, when I direct, I generally don't watch performances past opening night. But on opening night, what I do look for is I look for an opportunity to sit back and see the play as an audience member rather than as the director who's tried to engineer this thing. I just look for how it unfolds as it is. Every performance is a unique thing, and I look to be surprised by the things that we never planned. They happen in every performance, and sometimes they're magical, wonderful things. Other times they're things that, oh, geez, they really coped with that well. But now, once I'm done with my part of the job, I'm just looking to be delighted by what the players bring to the moment, and those moments, that's exciting. People should go to this play at the Hollywood Fringe Festival because it's a chance to experience David Mamet. It's a chance to experience two first-class players doing first-class work, and it's a chance to sit down and be challenged rather than just entertained. The Hollywood Fringe Festival is a must-see for anyone who lives here in, for anyone, period. Because it's this smorgasbord of theater experience. There's plays that will make you laugh. There's little performance pieces that will make you cry. There's such a depth of talent in writing, playing, directing, designing, and I mean it's an opportunity to just dive into the deep end of creative theater endeavor and swim to your heart's content. I love it because every time I've gone to the Fringe, I've seen something that I never expected to see. I was introduced to some ideas and some comic ideas that I never had encountered before, and I never have come away anything but delighted and enthused, and it always gets my theatrical juices flowing, and I start to get creative again just from the experience of witnessing and diving into all of that wonderful creativity. So go see the Fringe Festival. Just go. Just show up. The importance of a thing like the Fringe Festival is beyond just art. events like the Fringe Festival, events like, well, the Edinburgh Festival, uh, the Venice Biennial, all of these gatherings of artists of all media. It's not just a gathering of artists. It's a gathering of people, because the Fringe Festival in and of itself, if nobody went to it, then it's pointless. If nobody went to see the Beverly Hills Art Fair, it would be pointless, because art is an unfinished sentence if no one is there to view it, to hear it, to take it in, to be challenged, delighted, amused by it. We have to complete that circle as human beings. It's what we must do in order for any of this to have any meaning. Conversely, if we don't have art to see, if we don't have music to hear, or stories to listen to, then we're incomplete as well. Our society is incomplete. It's part of us. Humans are narrative animals. I think, as we saw in the pandemic, when we were cut off from each other, cut off from art, cut off from social gatherings, we began to wither as a species. People were literally losing their minds because of the isolation. No, the Fringe Festival, the Jazz Fest in New Orleans, all of these amazing gatherings are about completing the circle of humanity, and about being fully human, and not a dangling participle. I think the pandemic proves that idea. Throughout history, artists, in order to make art, they needed somebody to feed the muse. Whether it was Shakespeare and his patrons, or Picasso, Michelangelo, you name it. There's artists need someone or some group to pay the bills so that the art can get made. And it's no different. It's no different for me, or for any of the creative team that we formed. One of the first things that we did was set up a GoFundMe campaign. And basically the theme of the GoFundMe campaign is help us to tell an important story. And basically, we just sent out the word to all of our colleagues, all of our friends, everyone, that we're trying to do something important, and that any amount of help is accepted with deep gratitude. The GoFundMe campaign is still up, and if anyone would like to be a theater angel, all you have to do is send $1, send $5. Anything is accepted, and anything is something that we're grateful for. Even if what some of the folks who donated to us weren't able to donate money, but what they did donate was taking some time to tell their friends about the play and to encourage them to donate. Even that time, even that desire is a donation of tremendous value to us. And as I've said to many of the folks who have underwritten our efforts, $1 donated to the arts is a vote for a better world. And we're pure in our intentions. We're trying to do something worthwhile. And I think that the folks who've donated and that all of you, you know who you are. I'm so grateful because they've really come through for us in a big way. And we're waiting for you with open arms if you would like to come and join that group of facilitators. I like that better than donors, facilitators, because there's going to be other projects down the line. This creative team is more than just lightning in a bottle. I think we have more stories to tell down the line. My name is Miguel Perez. I'm lucky enough to have a team around me that all believes that that the story of Oleanna by David Mamet is a story you need to hear. And I would encourage you to come down to the Hollywood Fringe Festival. We open June 3rd and run throughout the month of June, and sit down and listen to us tell this story for you. You will not be disappointed. You may end up feeling kind of angry, but you won't forget the evening you spent with us. I promise you that. We won't waste your time.